Everybody. I'm so glad to be here again. The Daily Spell, we're starting to switch it up. It's going to be coming really quick to you and cool. It's been the Daily Spell, but today I'm going to talk something that is becoming quite troublesome for me, and it's the sort of things that happen when individuals and organizations begin to change. And one of the things that is happening is in this process of change. People have been questioning my faith, my Correllian faith, where I am with the Correllian tradition, and also where my faith is. And I decided I'm going to tackle that right away. And so what it is, people have to understand about me. So I guess a lot of people don't understand. I love magic. I got my little notes here. I'm going to be basically saying I'm going to speak as personally as I can and from the truth that I've got. But I love magic. I just have always had it from the time I was a child. I love magic. I love the concept of magic. I've always loved the taste and the feel of magic. And I've always loved magic since I had fun. I can't remember a time when I didn't have it. And so I've been coming along. And so when I learned how to read, that was magic for me. Oh my gosh, that opened up worlds and worlds and worlds of information. And as I've gotten into the world, I've always loved magic. What is magic? Magic is. It's simply a state of awe and wonder and personal intention that it is important to me. And my grandfather helped me out with that. And he taught me how to read. He taught me to read better. Once I started reading, it snapped in my head. It was like magic in my brain. I just sat there, and all of a sudden, I could read. And I could read letters and numbers and math and all sorts of things. And the world of knowledge was born to me. It was my salvation. And it was also my releasing my imagination and those things that I've learned to be important. Even though I was raised in a dominionist household, even though my grandparents were Catholic, my grandmother was strict Catholic, took me into it. I was raised in such a place that my imagination overcame everything else. I learned that imagination was essential. And I got the chance to learn that inventors use imagination, and that the imagination is used in so many things. But when you have something that other people don't believe in, oh, that's just your imagination. You're saying that to others, are saying to you, and you're saying to others, oh my gosh, that there's something wrong with that, even though we now know it is the primary tool of reality for us to create reality with. And so imagination, curiosity, and intuition are my magic. I love of it. Um, and in my life, I've been doing it. So my Correllian faith starts way earlier than before I met the Correllian family. My faith in magic is also anti-Armageddonist. I'll just say one of the biggest parts of my life is I'm anti-Armageddonist. I play with it. I'm an eschatologist, which means I know how the world's going to end in so many intricate different ways. I could discuss with you all day about the fact that they're moving Satan 2 missiles by Russia, and the missiles have gone into Polaris, at least by some people's measures, and that we take those little clocks 2 minutes before midnight, or 100 seconds before midnight. What a great band. So I gave up those types of thinking. We've been living in, and I've been living. I was born in the year of the Cuban Missile Crisis. So we've always lived in this world of Armageddon thought, and it was always before that and before that. And so for me, one of the things I learned is I started learning that magic and paganism, specifically Wicca and witchcraft, didn't have this doomsday ending. In fact, if you really paid attention, they spoke of deep time and things of that nature. Fast forward, I've gone through a little bit of a career change, and I decided to do psychic readings, and I met Don, Reverend Don, Lord Don. And he wasn't Reverend Don yet. He just simply wasn't. He was Don. He was a teacher. He was a high priest. He was a psychic. And we got to know each other. We learned about each other. We had things that we helped each other with. And in that, he introduced me to the family, Crystal and Bitterwind. And his dad, I learned of that. His first wife, Beloved. And it would begin a story for me because of the acceptance and warmth that came from that. And so I joined that family. I was an outsider joining the family, but I had become an insider with Don. Me and Don became fast friends. We saw the world very much the same and completely different. And so that was a very interesting thing. We saw the goals that were needed to be into the world were important. And that began a friendship and a brotherhood that would last for years, and that I would pledge to the Correllian family what became really the only thing that they exist with. Think about it. They have only one commandment. There's only one real commandment in the Correllian church, and that is to remember us. Deep down inside the Correllian church, primary energy that is so loving, so much the great family, so utterly powerful that it moved me, Artie Gardnerian, me cynical, me dark, that sort of thing, me trying to get past this Armageddonist thought. It was this idea of we want to be remembered. We don't want to fade away. How powerful is that? Water. Um, how powerful is that? I can feel that coming out of my chest. I can still remember that moment. And so they started to deal with the world. Now, this was a very small family tradition. Understand, Don had come to Chicago. We started some other little groups that it did, but this was a family tradition around Danville, where I find myself now. And so we began the church as we know it. We've had a couple formats from it. We filed our first legal papers in 2001. And so from there, we've been part of the Universal Life Church movement and things like that. So we got in the 90s, we got really moving and we became very strong. We've done this. We formed Witch School. And we've been building ever since. And what is it that we've been building? From the moment I started the Crystal Web on 8888, in fact, wow, that's younger yet. There was the idea of making connections. And today I'm making connections all over the world. So deeply, my Correllian faith in the five mystic secrets, I thought that was a beautifully written document. It's about life, and it's about love, and it's about knowledge, and more. What are the other two, folks? Okay, God. And so we've come to this point where it felt right to me, and they were reincarnationists, and I had so many experiences. And remember, I've had these experiences. I've been a magician all my life because I love magic. And I had these experiences that told me that the philosophy in which they lived was life, the philosophy of the great family, the philosophy of don't forget us, the great ancestor worship, and all of this idea of connecting and really touching heart to heart came to pass. And it was such a lovely message I wanted to share it with everybody. And so I made a pledge to the family, okay, I will not have you forgotten. And we've been working on it ever since. And so, wow. And that's like a long time ago. We talked about it, November 11th, 91. And then since then, we've been doing so. So my faith in this has been there. I've seen miracles. I've had miracles. We know about my color vision. I've seen people get healed. I mean, people who had, Lady Wendy with Joy, who was really close to her deathbed, had another decade in her. She got limbered up, and she's been that, and she's today one of the most blessed beings we remember today. Virginia had the same sort of thing. Lady Virginia, literally, and we have members out there who are doing Reiki. We've had members who basically stopped having COPD. We've had members who stopped having macular degenerative visions, and their visions are good. We've had people who have seen their health improve to diabetes and to other things. So we see these miraculous healings, but not in against, oh yeah, we're all faith healers, but against a real serious medical and understanding of the world. We do believe in medicine. We both Western and Eastern medicine. We just think there's better answers. And that love of all knowledge, that we're not just crazy people that, oh, we should take herbs all the time. We do that. And I think we take it in an intelligent and important manner, right? But we also take Western medicine. I take insulin. Let's not, I'm diabetic and I take insulin. So, and I'm trying all these things to get myself healthier and better. And maybe someday I won't. I'm very grateful for the fact that it does. So my Correllian faith is saw that we were anti-Armageddonists, we were pro-love, we were pro-energy, And it gave me a chance to exercise some administrative skills against the Parliament of World Religions. And here's where part of my Correllian faith comes in too. Reverend Don, people don't realize it. If you go into the 1993 and the 1993 Covenant of the Goddesses books of the Parliament of World Religion, his art's all over it. In part, why he did not go to that first Parliament is because he had a young child and they could not find a babysitter. And the wife worked outside of it. Winter worked outside of that event. So he could not attend the Parliament. They could not afford the ticket, nor could they afford the babysitter. And so Don didn't, but he was there, sometimes on the phone to call him, but also he was there in the artwork that he demonstrated. So he knew about it. His family kind of, that sort of energy. It would be a long time since he would be able to attend the next one. 16 years, he would then make it to Parliament of that. But for me, there, and the idea that we need these numbers began us on a legal streak, conditional legal streak. So today, so there's that. So I've been building towards those numbers, building towards those numbers. We have over 60 people going. I'm so proud of, so energetic. And then I retired from CNC. I don't have any offices with them. That's Correllian Nativist Church. It's one of the legal structures that exists around Correllianism. It's the main body that takes care of the temple, the church itself, and that's a very big thing. And I'm no longer involved. I'm on the board of directors. I'm always looking forward to the board of directors. I know they're talking about expanding. I'm looking forward to that meeting. I'm looking for a lot of things. I enjoy being on the board of directors, but I have no direct access to CNC, Correllian Nativist Church Incorporated. There's another, people don't know, there are several other versions of it. There are people who have gotten their own separate. And in fact, Correllianism has a very big decentralized aspect. I'm not involved with CEM either, which is Correllian Education Ministry, which is a second organization that runs Witchful. And they had that, but I'm no longer on that because I am running Psychic Academy. And so that's where my Correllian faith is. I really do believe that's where my offices are. So I have very few offices. Now I've taken on, as of today, the Correllian Church Incorporated, to take care of a lot of the local Danville and the family things, and that was formed today as an independent organization to take care of a lot of things. Lady Crystal, the Most Reverend Lady Crystal, Most Reverend Don Lewis, Jason, Right Reverend Jason, and Right Lori Blackman, and Right Reverend Chad Blackman, and myself. We formed a new board to take care of Danville, to take care of everything that is here. So understand, we needed to form an organization that became very protective of of the assets. We just sold and moved on and did some amazing, miraculous things that touched my heart. We moved statuary, we moved jewelry, we moved art, we moved all sorts of things from being hoarded and being held kind of in a captivity to being openly available in the matrix. There are people who receive these things. These people have now gotten gifts. We have people who have expanded their libraries. We've had people who have expanded their art collection. We've had people who expanded their altars. We have psychometrists all over the place with the old family jewelry touched and held by the family. And now it's just where people are. That moves me. I'm constantly moved by the creation of leadership. So my Correllian faith taught me something else. A lot of how I saw paganism and Wicca and all that, and especially saw Christianity, which I was well versed into, was this common idea of who could be accepted. Now, since then, I've really learned, and I really want to discuss the movement leaders, the high Correll women who came to here, and the oppression that they felt. And yet they survived the oppression, giving us this law. And now one of the things I also want is that we're ancestor worshipers. At deep down, that is where the Correllian strength lies. In this movement of the past to the future, not to be forgotten. And that's been my movement that's been the thing that's moved me and compelled me. That these spirits, these entities, these families are still working very hard to be remembered in a magical world, in a world of spirit, a world of energy, in a world that we are now seeing increasingly become quantum, in a world that says we will survive, a world, a faith, a practice that believes in world walking, a faith that believes that we are not just here into multidimensionality. If you look at where our science is today, where we are speaking to today, where our energy is today, all throughout the society towards this sort of concept of reality, which is about to be, you see it from the beginning of Correllian tradition, more than 130 years ago, and that's developing. And it's always been there. And so I've had a chance to see the front line of seeing thought, an oral tradition, a family tradition, some limited writings, but mostly thought and oral and practice, to be distilled through Lady Crystal, who really began the movement, and Lord Don and his mother and his family started to really consolidate. Five Mystic Secrets came out. That really began it, and then Lady Crystal, in her early days, really consolidated a lot of this thought and action and began to put it out so that others could do it. She did it in her community. Then Lord Don can do it. And then when they hooked up with me, we decided, we grew. It was about a decade. There was Lady Tracy, I'm going to say it, helps us a lot. There was a big moment where we wrote the books, we got the books written, and then we went on the internet, we've been growing ever since. So today I'm still as dedicated to Correllianism as I always have. I want to see it all grow. I want to see it all continue to grow. And I think there's a very important reason for that. Because everywhere I look, there's family. Everywhere I look, it's this sort of spiritual democracy. And what do I mean by that? I mean, people can come and go as they please. No one is ever forced to be in Correllian. We don't have that culture yet. Maybe someday we will, where everybody's around us is Correllian. So you have to be a Correllian. You grew up a Correllian. Maybe we'll find that happening to us. And let me hope that we don't have that happen. Maybe we can come past that. We're not an autocracy. There's no autocrats in us. I mean, there's no one commander of all Correllians. It just isn't. Either you accept the ideas of it, and therefore, by the family's command, you're Correllian, it means you want to be a Correllian. You can say it. We're an open practice. There are legal structures within the Correllian tradition where you can gain your clergy status and other legal structures. That'll be a talk another time. That's a much different thing about being a Correllian. A Correllian, you just have to accept that you want to agree with our beliefs. And when you do, you can call yourself a Correllian. Then, if you really want to be more formal, you can become an outer court member, register with one of our temples, with one of our schools, online, all sorts of ways to connect with us and grow from there. Language is not an object. We have all sorts of systems now to do so. Culture, that's up to you. We are very believed that you absorb culture. We see this with Blue Soul, the Right Reverend Blue Soul. We see this with Reverend Rolando in the Philippines, where they're doing this wonderful job of recovering nativists or local indigenous. We don't like the word nativist anymore, unfortunately. Indigenous religion and that sort of thing. Why don't I like the word nativist? We lost control of the word nativist. It's still used in the Correllian Nativist Church, and I understand it. That's where it's been a long time. And maybe at a time they'll stop using it. Nativist meant for us is the same thing as indigenous. It meant practices of the native land, practices of the native people. It has now turned into a very right-wing term. Nativists, a lot of nativists represent more difficult, more racist, more of the blood type thing, and we didn't adopt that word. That's why when we we refiled our paperwork today with the family here. We filed it to the Correllian Church Incorporated. That sort of thing. Because we're also expanding beyond just Wicca. We're having people do so because at the core of it, those practices, those beliefs in magic and faith and miracles, is what really makes us, and more importantly, what makes the faith important, is that we're ancestor worshippers, and we need to improve on that. And through these interactions with spirits, we gain more and more knowledge of the world, and we make our lives in the future better and better places. As we learn about world walking, by relearning about reincarnation, learning about our psychic abilities, learning about our special abilities, learning about how we use these energy forms. How do we use the crystal web? How do we use our imagination? How do we use these to build heart-to-heart communication? How do we use these to build love and family way beyond anything we ever expected? How do we build this thing that we hug people like Rain of South Africa and her entire court? How do we do so that we've had very long time hard-working people like Anna of England? So the last thing I really love about the Correllian faith is that it allowed itself to build leaders and let them lead and let them be and let them grow. This is hard. Growing leadership, growing people who are teachers, growing people in faith who show the way the world works for them, and very differently. And so some of that energy is out there. I find so miraculous that when they come to us, we're not saying give up anything. There's no Correllianism is you give up this to become up that. It's like you can do that and this. And if there are conflicts or things that don't work out or don't look right, those will correct themselves. We've learned this. You can have two opposite thoughts in your head, and eventually you either reconcile them or you don't, and then you give up one or the other. You don't have to be, there are a lot of people who practice a lot of Buddhism in Correllian, surprisingly large numbers. A lot of Wicca. We are Wicca. We have our main translation, our main church, Correllian Nativist Church is Wicca at its core. And it's growing because it also has, we see in the Correllian Nativist Church versus CEM, we're seeing shamanism. We're seeing some of those open door situations. The door programs where we see some of that. And even outside of our tradition, our cousins, the ATC, are doing a splendid job developing a college for themselves and for the community. I think they're going to really do it. They're working on accreditation. So this is my Correllian faith. I have given my life to it. 30 years plus. I believe in the 5 mystic secrets. I believe in the people that are created. Most importantly, I believe in the family that's behind all of this. The family we're going to take to the promise. The family we talk to all the time. This is a concept for others. They call it a concept. But this acceptance. I don't believe in the great family. You either can believe, I know the great family. I know that we're building something remarkable. Something so heartwarming, so strong, so powerful, that it doesn't matter what one person does. Oh my gosh. One person doesn't matter a bit about this. It is our collective will, our collective right. Understand that magic is part of our world and that the way the universe works is when that quantum probabilities collapse, we create that world through our hearts, through our minds, through our communication, through our words. And so there we go. Hey, Gwydion, blessings from Idaho. Thank you. So that's where my faith is. And I will continue to teach my faith. I will continue practicing my faith. I will continue to bring people in because I love it so much. And I think it's so helpful to people. And if you don't like it, that's okay. That's what freedom of religion means. But just because you have a religion that requires you to say things in a certain way by creating your systems doesn't make it mine. No, mine comes from the ancestors. Mine comes from Lady Crystal. Mine comes from Lord Don. Mine comes from all of the people who have already now passed from it. Lady Virginia, Virginia Smith, even closer to me, you know, Katrina. I have dedicated my life to this. I've dedicated myself to the magic of it. I see that it's a big world. I think it's a beautiful world. I think it's about a world that's going to change a lot of lives. So, what is my Correllian faith? That the future abides. And what do I want that future to do? To remember us. We want a gentler world. We want a loving world. We want a world where we can live in harmony and happiness. And the truth is, I was our visionary tradition, which is so visionary. We know that's going to be very difficult. And so we're going to live in a world where we can make a difference. Love you all. Blessings. And the great family abides. That's my Correllian goal.